from the creative geniuses that brought you Morbius, Madam Web, Craven, Sony Pictures drops this little gem on us in the middle of April or the end of April, Until Dawn. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it, dude. Run the closing credits. I'm out of here. That's all I have to say about this movie. Dude, why do they still make movies? Honestly, like, do they just like giving money? Like, give me the money. Give me and King Z the money. Honestly, I could have made Until Dawn. It ain't that hard. It was right there. There was a game. It had a script. Make the game. Borderlands.
Yeah. Now, on that note, I will defend that because it did lean towards that at the end.
See, here's the thing. I had some notes that I had put aside, but really, I can do this without the notes. I feel kind of about this like almost like how I feel about what they've done with The Last of Us Season 2, honestly. I get that they can't do the game completely because the game is about choices that you make. I get that, it's not static, it's fluid, it has replay to it and things like that. And this movie, God bless them, it tried with broad story strokes to get at the core kind of narrative of the game. It's friends going back to the place of a tragedy a year later to kind of mourn the death of someone. In the movie, they were going to investigate because they weren't sure that person was dead. And then at the end of the movie, the big spoiler review is kind of the same as the game, that the person they were looking for had been transformed and become kind of one of the things that was hunting them the entire time. So they got some of that right. But I got nothing really else positive to say about this besides a couple of Easter eggs. So let me just get your take first, and then I'll just go on a rant for a few minutes, I think. I don't know.
So I don't think that they should have linked this to the video game, even though I do know that this is a prequel to the video game, because at the very end of the credits, which this is a spoiler, it turns to the beginning of the video game.
It did, because it showed the lodge. So
it showed the lodge, and it showed the SUV pulling up, which is the first scene of the video game.
Yeah, I guess I didn't really think of that, because the story is still stupid similar to the game, though. It really is.
Yeah.
With the missing sister specifically.
Yeah.
But
this one, I believe, is more just a teen movie horror that they could have done. Pretty much you have a Groundhog's Day set in a horror setting.
Happy Death Day.
Yep, Happy Death Day. But that was more of a comedy, where this one tried to take itself more seriously.
Oh, 100% seriously, except for the really bad attempts at comedy that they laid in there. They took a couple of jokes they wanted to make, and they were not funny. My God, were they not funny? Is there something on my face? Like,
yeah.
Not funny. Not funny. Dude, you've told me this like 10 times. You didn't get to play the game, right?
I did play the game. I rented it. I just never played all the way through, because once again, back in the day, you could actually rent video games, try them out before spending the full price on them. But eventually you had to return them because you didn't want those late fees. So I played a little bit of the game because I rented it. This is when I still had a PlayStation before I sold it. And then, that's all I got through with this game. I'd always wanted to go back and try to finish it, but I just never got around to it.
I might have to ship you the gear to do that, because I think you'd get a kick out of it. So for those of you guys that don't know, Until Dawn is it's a unique kind of game as far as consoles go. I feel like we got a lot more of these games and games like it on PC back in the day, but it's kind of like it's a narrative driven game. It's kind of like a digital choose your own adventure book, but there's more movement to it than one of those Telltale like Walking Dead games. You do control a character that moves around in 3 dimensions as you investigate an environment that kind of evolves into a typical horror movie. Like, it's usually a group of people or your main character that gets stuck somewhere. There's a mystery to unvolve. There's elements of horror and survival. You have to survive the night. And the decisions you make in conversation or paths you pick through certain areas evolve the story, like in a literal butterfly effect way, because that's an aspect of all these games via the studios. It shows you your decision board and how, Winter Wolf increased his friendship with King Z, and that'll have an impact on another relationship with another character somewhere else. And it might make you available for like the heroic scene in the ending or something. But if I had done the other way, if you and I had a fight and then you weren't available in the ending, like, my character might die. So that's the game. What they here, and I'll give them credit. This will be the thing I give them the most credit for. They tried to put the spin on it by removing that, because I don't think you can do that movie wise, and make it into that Happy Death Day situation where they keep dying, and trying to remember what they did, and then credit to them, they actually had the guy pull up his phone and look at what they had done. That was almost like straight out of the game because he has all the different videos and he's checking into what he did. So they had to switch gears. They had to remove the whole, A/B testing of options that they did and evolve more into the whole keep until we get it right, trial and error with some body horror. And I think the body horror was okay, but it kind of grated on me after a while, especially the explosions. I was just like, I'm over that by the second one. The first one was good for shock and awe.
Yeah.
One, it was kind of funny.
I did like that they didn't have like the A to B, like original Groundhogs. They were like how he knew how to rob the armored car to the like wind blows, car drives by.
Supernatural had an episode like that where Dean, the other one, Sammy's like catching the tray that the waitress drops, and it's like, you're gonna order sausage in this, catch the hot sauce, car crash. Like, that's the vibe for those shows.
They didn't do that, and the other thing is that they put a bomb under the table in this one because they only had so many attempts. Because the more they did it, the more they lost themselves, and no one ever made it past 13 attempts before. Right. And like you could tell by how bad your signature was getting with the person who signed the book, which kind of like I believe signing the book is what signed you up to play the experiment.
If that's the case, then does it sign up the whole group? Because I think only Nina signed the book.
Yeah, only Nina signed the book, and I believe it does sign up the whole group. It only takes one. Kind of like what movie was that? Cabin in the Woods. Whoever picked the first thing, that's what's going to come in
the basement.
Yeah.
I did like that too. I think it was clever to put it on a ticking clock because that's not part of the game. There was no. They took basically the graphic from the game with the skull with the hourglass. And every time it tipped over, you had to survive the night to get it through.
Yeah, survive the night or become part of it.
There you go. For me, it's more like Sony failed the QTE because I think that it's just they took enough stuff from the game that like I know they were trying to make Until Dawn because I had initially thought when I walked out of the theater, like you said, if they had called it anything but, I'd have been like, okay, it's a Happy Death Day sequel. It'll be on Netflix, whatever. But they really did try. With a lot of not even just the thematics, there's specifics that I saw in this game that are ripped right out of the game. So they wanted Until Dawn.
One of the things I took from this movie and what I thought it would be after watching it, it's like they took a lot of good supporting actors and see which one would become a star. So this was like their tryout to be a leading role. Yep. And that's why, I mean, the only real proven star that I know was Odessa, because I know her from the show Ghost. She's got killed by, she played Nina. She's the one who got killed. She was killed in Ghost on prom night.
Which one was Nina? Nina was the one in the relationship, right? With the guy that was with them, the guy? Okay.
Yeah. Right. And then, of course, Peter Stormare, who is Dr. Hill. We all know him. He was in tons stuff.
Oh, he's in some Call of Duty stuff as Markov, I think. Like he's a good actor. I like him.
Yeah, he was in Armageddon. He's in Bad Boys 2.
This is how you fix things on Russian space station. We go. Yeah. I love that guy. And that's like 25 years ago. That guy's been great forever.
Yeah.
He looks the same, dude. He
still looks the same.
Same dude. Let me, since you brought up the cast, let me ask you, right? Was Odessa, or that was her character's name and something else? Her name was Nina in this. I'm sorry.
Her real name is Odessa.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I'm going to call her Nina just so I can keep all these people straight in my head. Was there a standout here for you, like performance wise or like, game wise? Like what did you think of these 5 boneheads that they assembled?
I think Ji Yun Yu, who played Megan, I think she had the most to do.
Yeah. And they tortured the fuck out of that girl.
Yeah, I think she did great. She was the only real standout. The person who played Clover, I think, tried too hard to be one of the 90 stream queens in this,
and failed.
And then the way they did the cutscene earlier, the flashback, just like instead of stay put, I'd rather run towards something.
Oh my god!
Like
dude,
if they did that
at in the theater,
if they did that at the beginning and then led into this. And then payoff instead of just shove it in near the end to give you the answer on how to beat this.
It was like 4 minutes apart, man. She was definitely the weakest link in the cast by far. Like I said, there were Easter eggs in the game that I like. I don't remember if the aside what was the guy's what's Markov's name? Peter something or other, the Russian guy from
Peter Stormare, Stormare.
I'm just gonna call him I'm gonna call him the Dr. here, right?
Dr. Hill.
So Dr. Hill, thank you. Dr. Hill, I don't think was a character in the game. I think it's somebody you find the ID badge, if I remember the story right, because the sanatorium is a big part of the game. The mine stuff is a big part of the game. What happened to the town? All those things were there. But all of these games from this company, I think it's Supermassive Games, they have this mechanic where in between chapters, your character either interacts with like a psychiatrist, a fortune teller, a carnival barker, like something creepy and off-putting, and they're the ones that show you the kind of the tarot cards and the different choices you made, and they lay it out there. So they made him an active character, like because the movie needed an antagonist, like somebody evil needed a villain. You know, we're in the game, I think it really is just the dude that was hunting them around the house and like bashing skulls at one point, because there was a lot of different villains in the game.
Yeah.
But one of the main missing thing from the game is that there is mystery elements, but you said this is a prequel based on that last scene. So maybe I'm delving into stuff I don't need to worry about because they shouldn't have had that storyline yet, I guess. Because there was definitely one of them lost their minds and started killing the friends in the game story. And it's kind of a whodunit kind of mystery.
They kind of had Nina go that route a little bit in this. But that was more to protect her friends.
Yes, this was very much I blame you for the death of my family. I brought us all up here, and now it's revenge time. And then you had to figure it out because there were supernatural elements going on at the same time as a separate threat. So the game's great. You guys should definitely go play the game. But they did have Easter eggs everywhere in this movie, and that's what makes me think they really wanted this to be good. You know, they had the scene where they find a map in a desk drawer, and I'm like, that's straight out of a game. Where they unfold the map and they see all the POIs, they find a flashlight. Dude, the guy walked outside and found a flashlight in the dirt and turned it on to go look for the girl. And I'm like, he must have seen the shimmery star thing as he was looking around. He saw, you found the flashlight, add to inventory, So they had enough of that. But dude, this movie got bombed. I think it had a budget of like 15 mil. I think its global for the weekend was like 3.
I think it's not a well enough known game to draw in the game fans that they're hoping with. It was a very niche. It didn't really have great game sell either.
No, it's on Platinum Classics for like $20. I highly recommend it. You don't need the remaster. The remaster going to set you back like 60 when I checked the other day. Get it on PS4 for 20. It's one of those games that has, like I said, it's a slow burn. You walk around, do the mystery. But the QTEs, they even had them in the movie, like when they were hiding from the dude with the sledgehammer, and one of them was behind the door and one of them was under the desk. That's the hold your breath part of the game where like you have to make no sound through the mic on your controller, no vibration, no buttons. You got to hit the QTE when you need it. Even when they were running through the woods, I was like, oh, are they going to duck under a branch? Because I got to hit the triangle. They're going to jump over the fallen log. That's the square. I was waiting for that. That didn't happen. But they had some POV shots, like those things, which were great. Another one was where Clover's ex-boyfriend, he's in the mine. I think he had just killed her at her request. He's trying to push the story to the finale. He's looking through like a set of slats, at one of the Wendigos, and like, dude, straight out of the game POV shot. So I mean, it had a couple of those things, but man, the performances and the wackiness of watching them comically die in some cases kind of undermined a lot of what I thought they might have had for narrative tension.
Yeah. Now, when you first saw our star here, Peter or Dr. Hill, when he was like the gas station attendant, as soon as I saw him there, I'm like, he has to be someone bigger because you're not going to use a star like this just to be the harbinger, which is the person who kind of makes them make that choice. Yep. It was the harbinger, and I'm like, he has to be more than just a harbinger character. And of course, he turns out to be the bad guy who,
go ahead.
Who started this whole thing to begin with.
I'm glad you mentioned him at the beginning because I knew the movie was in trouble for me fairly early on, as they, like you said, I felt like people were trying too hard. Like they're on the road trip back to the place where Clover's sister disappeared the year before, and when she runs into not Dr. Hill at the time at the gas station as the attendant, she walks up to him after she buys her soda, her coffee, or whatever, holds her phone up and goes, "Have you seen this girl?" And he goes, "Can't say I remember her. Why? Did she go missing here?" And they try to play up that moment as like it's this big tension thing where she kind of recoils and slow walks back, and she's like, "I didn't say she was missing." Like, bitch, you're in the middle of nowhere and you just showed me a picture of somebody. It was implied that that's why you're here, that she's missing and you're trying to find her. So like, it was just like they had these little missteps with that, like fairly frequently. Enough for me anyway. Like I couldn't
trying to go more with the trope that would go with like
it was
when,
a little too
when
hammered.
the cops like trip someone up in an interrogation, like we never said that they folded the clothes.
Dun dun dun, killer.
Or I never said my name was Kevin.
Right. It was that vibe from there, and I'm like, okay, so this is the part where the new boyfriend is actually the a-hole, even though he seemed like the level-headed newcomer to the group for a little while up front. But when push came to shove, he was like, his worst thing was he goes, we need to save ourselves to find help to save everybody else. And I'm like, this dude's not wrong, and he got a pickaxe through the spine for it.
Yeah. Dude, but that was a great scene though when they went through the water wall, which he totally it was Wonder Wall was the actual name of the song, but he's like, it's called a water wall. That's what the song's about. I'm like, no.
Yeah.
But
yeah. That was
when they shot through there and you see that big creature out there just kind of guarding it. They needed something that would keep them in and not try to run, go back through the rainstorm.
True. Yeah, like stealing your car. Like, okay, I mean, like
that worked pretty nicely.
Yeah,
dude, that guy was on a mission. I thought he was gonna take some hits. Dude, he was no selling everything. Chair to the head. Turn his head.
Until later when he didn't, and the three of them just beat him up with like vases and like
then smashed his head with it. Yeah, it took the three of them hit him in the head, and then the three of them had to pick up that hammer and do the shield power bomb on his head.
Three of them for a sledgehammer that was not the size of like a weapon from Silent Hill or anything. It was just like your standard garden, landscaping tool sledgehammer. I'm like, all right, you just got pwned.
They looked like a lot of those don't really go outside much. Maybe they.
That dude was 6'3". Nah, dude, they had the only dude in the group in the group of three. The ex-boyfriend was a little on the probably couldn't have sledgehammered him, but still.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought I'm thoroughly disappointed. On the bright side, it did motivate me to consider going back to the game. So I mean, there's that. But dude, what a bust. Sony, if you're listening, get out of the movie business, or at least hire people with some kind of clue for anything. Because I can't remember the last time you actually put out a good movie. It wasn't Venom 3.
Yeah, Venom 1 was decent.
That's 6 years ago, dude.
That was longer than that.
10 years. I don't know that shit. Long enough, dude. I
think it was right before my 40th birthday.
Good Lord Almighty. All right, that's our thoughts on the movie. Kingsley, when do we break out the newly minted Winter Wolf's Den flavor rating system? Here we go. And as the guy in the B chair, please have at it. Choose your flavor.
I'm going to go with a good dry rub. I think a good dry rub would be good for this movie. See it once, never have to watch it again. I would wait for streaming, though, if you're already paying for the service.
Dude, I was going to be harsher on this. I was going to go burnt ends, and I mean like the low side. I was going to go like, charred rubber in the charred rubber out of the fridge, then microwave, then you forgot it was there. You know what I mean? I could probably be talked into getting up into the low side of dry rubbed here. I'll give them points for trying what they did. They did call back to enough stuff in the game that at least I got the like when I saw, that feeling just like, oh, it's amusing. I could see where they tried to earn the R rating with the body horror stuff, because some of those the full body explosions were grotesque. I actually did feel bad for the Megan character because she bought it hard
every time,
multiple times. Like every time through, she got it the worst.
Yeah.
But yeah, the story, the investigation, it all they whipped like right through everything that made the game actually interesting beyond kind of like the setting and the concept, like the story and trying to do the missing persons thing. It didn't really ever amount to anything. And the resolution, like you said in the review, it came too quickly. They flashed back once to the sister for like 15 seconds, and it wasn't all that heartfelt. It wasn't built to. So yeah, I could go dry rub, but it's definitely on the low side. It's a 4. Streaming at best. And if you've seen, I'd tell you to go, instead of streaming that month for $20, go buy the game.
Remember, survive the night or become part of it.